What is up, Rad Potential YouTube? Welcome to today's Radformational video. So I'm glad that you guys enjoyed the last one. We talked about deleting all of the EFI stuff off of your first gen RX7 or your GSLSE, right? Well, I saw a comment, okay, on one of those videos, and I love seeing you guys comment on the videos. I appreciate it. Asking about the distributor and how the vacuum advance works in the distributor. So I'm not a super expert on these, but I grabbed the two different ones that I have, and I'm going to show you guys and talk you through what I learned today, reading through, the forums and the internet and the service manual and everything on how they work, and then that way you guys can apply that information to your own car. Okay, so first things first. There's three different distributors that you're largely going to see in a first-gen RX-7. Okay, I'm going to kind of ignore for now the twin dizzy stuff and the super old school stuff. Okay. Put on a 79, 80, and then from 81 to 85 distributors. That's what we're talking about. So, 79, point style ignition. It's going to look like this. You can see all the little flappy doos and springy doos and thingy whoppers down in there. That's points. You set dwell. Got to adjust them. I'm not an expert on it. And honestly, I kind of know how it works, but I'm not going to try to explain it to you. It's old school. So, these distributors, I tend to just throw them away, and I don't use them. They have a rotor that looks like this. Okay? And then they also have a short cap. So this is a late model cap right here. The old school points cap is way shorter. Now, 1980 is a weird one. 1980 has an electronic ignition, but the igniters are not mounted to the distributor. So I don't have one here to show you. I didn't dig out my parts from my original 1980 car, the mouse, the silver one, to find them. But the 1980, okay, I'm pretty sure it has a short cap. The igniters are not mounted to the distributor. It has a long, big wiring harness that comes out of it. Okay, on the driver's side strut tower, there is a box. That box contains the igniters. They're not J109 igniters like these. They're like a J110 or something. They're much bigger. The workings of that distributor are effectively the same as the late model one. Okay, and it's not that hard to convert either of these systems to the late model one. Alright, which I have a video on, which I'll link it. Now, the third distributor. Okay, before we get to the advances. Third distributor, the most common. Your late model electronic ignition distributor with the J109 igniters mounted on the distributor. This is by far the most sought after, common, super easy to use distributor setup on a rotary engine. It takes 3 wires to make this work. You use the standard resistorless ignition coil and you're good to go. It's literally easy peasy. Okay, these distributors, tall cap, igniters on the body, vacuum pots, the rotor on the inside if this one has one. Let me get the cap off here. Oh, there we go. The rotor on the inside looks like this. It has this weird split prong thing for the leadings and trailings and how all it fires its stuff. You pull the rotor off. Comparison to the weird one. Point style, early style, late model. And down in here, you're going to see the magnetic pickups. And then you can see the arms for the vacuum advance actually look pretty similar to the other ones. Okay. This distributor. We're going to talk about that one with regard to the advance. Okay. When you set your base timing on a rotary, the book says you take a standard issue timing light, which I just have a regular one over here. Everybody's seen one. Standard issue timing light. You put that on. You rev the engine to above 3,000 RPM. Also, I'm sorry about my flashing light. Legit, the LEDs are in a box on the porch. I just have to install them, but I wanted to make this video for you guys. So, you put your timing light on. You rev the engine to above 3,000. The reason that you rev the engine to above 3,000 is because what that does is that maxes out all of the advances that are built into your distributor. There's 2 advances that are built into your distributor. And what do these advances do? So the advances in your distributor advance the timing for different situations in driving, right? The first kind, which is the simplest one to explain, is a mechanical advance. As the distributor spins faster, it expands the weights, the timing advances, i.e. more timing. So if you set your base timing at 10, that mechanical advance will add 10 degrees of timing as the distributor spins up. And what that does is it builds a timing curve with RPM. So when you have more RPM, you want more timing, a little more horsepower. The second type of advance is the vacuum advance. And these function in different ways in different years. And I don't know how to tell the difference on the distributor, if they are even different. But what I can tell you is based on how the rat's nest works, some things in there between the years, they've changed how these work. So, these advances work at part throttle. If you can imagine driving around, say 3,500 RPM, right? 3,500 RPM, half throttle. You're going to want a little extra timing from your idle timing, right? That isn't advanced by the mechanical advance, right? So that a little bit of extra timing. That little bit of extra timing comes from the rat's nest controlling these solenoids, the vacuum solenoids, to add timing at specific areas of vacuum, okay? And the springs in these pots are set up to make that better. Basically, increase your drivability. Okay, so that's how those 2 advances work. The reason you set your timing, right, at 3,000 RPM is because all of those advances will be fully advanced. So you're setting the timing based on the maximum timing that the engine would ever see. Okay? So, now, how do I set these up on my personal cars? So, go watch the How to Time Your Rotary Engine video. It'll show you where to put the timing light, the timing marks. I have a video on how to set top dead center in your rotary. If you have a front pulley, okay, that has come off, they only really fit one way, but sometimes they can be wacky and weird, and maybe the front hub's wrong. Go check out those videos to check on time. I'm going to tell you how I set up the advance. Since I generally know, right, that those advances, when you read the books, you kind of understand the stuff, it's generally maximum 10 degrees. I normally set all my timing at idle. Okay, just it's easier. I don't have to hold the throttle and do the thing. I can do it with one person, right? So I usually set my timing at idle, even on like a mildly stock port, on a mildly whatever, 10 degrees on the leading. Okay, that's about 1 centimeter, because Mazda's smart. The front pulley is 360 millimeters in circumference. So 1 centimeter, which is 10 millimeters, is 10 degrees of timing advance. So usually 1 centimeter advanced is where I set my timing at. That's typically where a stock motor likes it. Now, street port, bridge port, whatever port, crazy peripheral port, those engines typically like more timing, okay? The 10 degrees of advance, albeit a decent amount, is not as much as you can get out of an ECU, microsquirt, electronic controlled ignition, right? You can have like my FC or the Vert or whatever that I used to have. Idle timing was 14 degrees, full rip timing 35, right? RX7, same way. They have a bunch of timing in them, okay? And that helps your top end power, right? So, Bridgeport engine, I might set my base timing at 20, 25 at idle. Now, here's the drawback to doing that, okay? Without having the vacuum advances hooked up, you lose the ability to have like part throttle timing advance, and then it also sacrifices your drivability. But also having the timing that far advanced at low RPM, okay, is going to give you some bad fuel economy because you're just so far advanced. It's also going to make the car kind of miss a little bit at idle. If you notice a lot of my stuff, the street port stuff, you can hear a little miss just because I run that extra timing. That extra timing is noticeable. I mean, you're not going to like blow your engine up if you add 5 degrees of timing to it if it's just an NA engine. If it's a boosted engine, this does not at all apply to you. You should look up how to do a lock distributor, and that's a whole different topic. But if you have an NA engine and you have a timing light and you want to play with it, I mean, I wouldn't throw 30 degrees at a stock port engine, but like if it's set at 8, you know, bump it up to 10. See if you notice a little bit of a difference in fuel economy and stuff. I mean, you can test this stuff with a $10 timing light and just kind of see what's going on. Okay, so that's the talking video, the rad informational video about these distributors. When I saw that comment earlier today, I had to go and research it and figure out how it all worked and make sure I could tell you guys the right information. As far as a quick mention, as far as the timing split, okay, there is a split between leading and trailing, right? Leading, trailing, split. They don't fire at the same time. The one fires before the other. Leading first, leading, then the trailing fires. Okay, that split is typically, in these distributors, between 8 and 10 degrees. Now, I know there's ways you can adjust that. I have never tried to adjust the timing split at all in any of my stuff. I just never researched it, never. 208 horsepower versus 213 on the street feels the exact same. So I've never been, you know, that worried about it. So, yeah, that's kind of the short bit on timing split. But that's pretty much it, guys. That was like kind of rhymed. I'm gonna leave you off with that. Drop any comments below. Yeah, I hope that gave somebody help. There's a lot of guys too, and here's the thing, and you need to do a little bit of googling on it with the. Say you're running. Might be a little bit of a side, but this is kind of where this stems from. So, say you're running a Weber or a Holly or a strip Nicky or something that's not a stock carburetor, right? And you're gonna ask the question, where do I hook up my vacuum pots to, my vacuum ports? On my street port 12A with a Holly, I had the vacuum pots hooked up to manifold vacuum. Okay, so that was a vacuum port in the base plate of the carburetor. That's how it was set up from Racing Beat or whatever, because I had a Racing Beat kit on it when I bought the car. And that car drove fantastic. And I cranked the timing up, my base idle timing up to like 16 or 17 degrees. And that thing, I mean, it ripped. Now, it was a little hard to start. You know, more timing makes it hard to start in the cold. Okay, so on a Weber car, you know, do you need to hook your timing advance up? In my opinion, no. A Weber doesn't exactly work perfectly at part throttle anyways, especially on these small engines. Some people putting 48s on a stock 12A, and it gets a little weird. Just tuning the drivability out. So I don't think that like your carburetor drivability issue is going to put the distributor driving ability issue to shame. Like if your carburetor's not set up properly, you're not going to notice that your distributor having the vacuum pots on is going to make a difference, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I definitely think it can be beneficial. I can't quantify the fuel economy difference. I know that my 12A, my Streetport 12A with the pots hooked up in a Holly got like 27 mpg on the highway and 18 around town. I know that my full Bridgeport with the Weber running 22 degrees of timing base, and that's like 30 something, full rip with a 50 millimeter Weber on the interstate gets like 21, and then like full rip driving around gets like 9, but you know, that's also a race car. I don't expect that to get good fuel economy. So, and like I said, I don't really work with with stock Nicky stuff, but we did the Holly Sniper install using the same, you know, stock ignition. That car I just set to like 12 to 15 degrees base timing, and it rips. It makes good power, starts every time. You know, it's good to go. So that's my bit on vacuum advance. At least that'll be what the title is. Vacuum advance and rotary engine timing, and hopefully if you found the video, you found something useful in it. So like I said 3 minutes ago before I started rambling, comment below with any questions. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you have you know, other rotary cars, you have other questions, you want to see other videos. Comment your video you want to see below, hit the subscribe button, you'll probably see it come up. And I promise guys, I will get the flashy light fixed before the next video. So thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Keep it rad. We gotta go find the dog. She's probably at the door because it is cold. Nope. Whoa! There she is. See her? Peace, guys.